The Gaza Strip is once again engulfed in violence. The fragile peace, maintained through a ceasefire since January 2024, was shattered on March 18, 2025. Israel launched a series of airstrikes targeting locations within Gaza. These strikes came after the collapse of negotiations for the release of hostages held by Hamas. The renewed conflict has brought fear, destruction, and death to the Palestinian enclave. International efforts are underway to broker a new ceasefire. However, the situation remains volatile. The recent escalation marks a grim turn of events. This follows months of relative calm in the region. The ceasefire, while holding for a time, did little to address the underlying tensions. The plight of the hostages captured during Hamas's attack on Israel in October 2023 has further complicated the situation. With both sides entrenched in their positions, the path to a lasting peace seems distant and fraught with challenges. The human cost of this conflict is staggering. Palestinian officials report that at least 85 Palestinians were killed in Israeli airstrikes on March 19, 2025 alone. This brings the total number of Palestinian deaths since the start of the latest escalation to over 535. The majority of the casualties are civilians, including women and children. Hospitals in Gaza are struggling to cope with the influx of injured, with medical supplies running dangerously low. Adding to the current devastation is the backdrop of the ongoing humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Years of conflict and the Israeli blockade have left the enclave's infrastructure in ruins. The healthcare system, already strained before the recent violence, is now on the verge of collapse. The civilian population, trapped in the crossfire, bears the brunt of this conflict. Their resilience is tested daily by the trauma of violence, displacement, and loss. Israel defends its actions, stating that the renewed military operation is necessary to secure the release of the remaining hostages held by Hamas since October 2023. Of the original 251 hostages, 59 are still being held, with the fate of some unknown. Israel accuses Hamas of using civilians as human shields and of rejecting ceasefire negotiations. They also claim that Hamas has been commandeering aid supplies intended for the Palestinian population. Hamas, on the other hand, accuses Israel of perpetrating war crimes and targeting civilians. They argue that their actions are a legitimate response to what they perceive as Israeli aggression. In retaliation for the Israeli strikes, Hamas fired 3 rockets towards Tel Aviv. While 2 landed in open areas and 1 was intercepted, the rocket fire highlights the potential for the conflict to escalate beyond Gaza's borders. The exchange of fire underscores the deep mistrust and animosity between the two sides. The international community has expressed grave concern over the escalating violence in Gaza. The United Nations has called for an immediate ceasefire and urged both sides to exercise restraint. A UN compound in Deir al-Balah was damaged during the fighting, resulting in casualties. This incident highlights the risks faced by aid workers and the challenges in delivering humanitarian assistance in a conflict zone. The United Kingdom, which has a national working as a bomb disposal expert injured in Gaza, has also called for de-escalation. This incident underscores the international dimensions of the conflict and the potential for wider repercussions. The international community faces the daunting task of mediating between the two sides and finding a peaceful resolution to the conflict. The path to peace requires addressing the root causes of the conflict, including the hostage situation, the blockade, and the broader Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The current crisis in Gaza is the latest chapter in a long and bloody conflict. The roots of this conflict run deep, stemming from the displacement of Palestinians during the creation of Israel in 1948. The capture of Gaza by Israel in 1967 and the subsequent occupation and blockade have further fueled tensions. Hamas's rise to power in Gaza in 2006 added another layer of complexity to the conflict. The current escalation can be traced back to Hamas's attack on Israel on October 7, 2023. The attack, which killed about 1,200 people and resulted in the capture of hundreds of hostages, marked a significant escalation in the conflict. Israel responded with a large-scale military operation in Gaza, leading to widespread destruction and a high number of Palestinian casualties. While a ceasefire was reached in January 2024, The underlying issues remained unresolved, setting the stage for the current crisis. The cycle of violence continues, with each round exacting a heavy toll on both sides.